On October 1st, President Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth met with 800 military generals and admirals in Quantico, Virginia. Secretary Hegseth opened his speech telling the generals and admirals that all military personnel need to realign their mission with the department's new name, the War Department.
The era of the Department of Defense is over. From this moment forward, the only mission of the newly restored Department of War is this: warfighting.
Hegseth also shared a number of grievances he had about promotions in the U.S. military.
The military has been forced by foolish and reckless politicians to focus on the wrong things. For too long, we've promoted too many uniformed leaders for the wrong reasons, based on their race, based on gender quotas, based on historic so-called firsts. We became the woke department, but not anymore.
President Trump then got up on stage. Per usual, the president spent a considerable amount of time in his hour-long speech congratulating himself. He congratulated himself for building up America's nuclear power. He claimed to have ended 7 wars since January of this year, though there's no evidence of this claim. He promised to end the Gaza war and the war between Russia and Ukraine. And per usual, President Trump blamed the media for being corrupt, claiming they gave him bad press. Following Trump's disparaging of the media, his message took a dark turn as he turned his attention to an alleged invasion that he claims is currently underway in the United States.
Defending the homeland is the military's first and most important priority. That's what it is. Only in recent decades did politicians somehow come to believe that our job is to police the far reaches of Kenya and Somalia, while America is under invasion from within. We're under invasion from within. And I told Pete, we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military, because we're going into Chicago very soon.
Did you catch that? President Trump instructed U.S. military leaders to prepare their troops to fight against the enemy within the United States, and claims that these enemies are within Democratic-run cities like Chicago. As I mentioned in a previous video, we know that Trump considers most, if not all, non-citizen immigrants in the U.S. as a threat to national security. Trump doesn't seem to ever differentiate between non-citizens who actually commit violent crimes and those who are extremely hardworking immigrants who pay taxes, who add value to our country in countless ways, and who are endeavoring to become U.S. citizens. He talks about all non-citizens as if they are all the same, which is incredibly dangerous and foolish, because it plays into false narratives like the Great Replacement theory, and it triggers unstable Americans who may wish to do harm to non-citizens. So non-citizens are clearly in his mind as he talks about the enemy within. But I don't think that's all he had in mind. If you listen to his full speech, he goes on to talk about his plan to use active military members to target American cities that have Democratic mayors and governors. This should shock and alarm every American citizen, regardless of whether or not you voted for Donald Trump or which political party you're part of. President Trump appears to be suggesting that even American citizens whom he views as a threat are also included in what he calls the enemies within. We've already seen the Trump administration targeting American citizens, some of them very famous and some of them not, who have criticized and spoken out against his policies over the last 9 months. I'll end with this. The language and rhetoric of both Secretary Hegseth and President Trump should be alarming to all who care about the direction of our country, for all who sincerely care about upholding the Constitution, and for all who care about American democracy and the freedoms and rights granted to us by the U.S. Constitution. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth sound more like authoritarians willing to ignore and sidestep the Constitution and the rule of law, willing to deny Americans our freedoms and rights rather than protecting them. They are guiding America down a pathway away from our constitutional and democratic republic into a future that gives allegiance primarily to the president rather than an allegiance to one another and to our founding document, the United States Constitution. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please do me a favor and hit like on the video. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe for more breakdowns like this. If you want to support my work, become a paid subscriber to my weekly Substack newsletter. There's also a free option. The link is in the description.